As we go into the round of 16 of the ESL Open Cup Korea, in the bottom right-hand side, we do have the Red Terran player. This is SpeCial. Up against the Blue Zerg in the top left-hand side from Brave Star Gaming, we do have Scarlett. So SpeCial versus Scarlett, some TVZ, two of the most notable foreign players living in Korea. And it's kind of funny that they don't play more often. I was just talking about Newcastle them last year in the Chinese tournament that they played in China in July, also it must have been June. But actually since then they've only played twice. They played in the Nation Wars and Scarlett won both the maps there. They played in a tournament called the Dam Cup, where Scarlett also won 3-1. And that's it. Since the last time I cast them, they've only played each other at two different events. They're just players I expect to play each other more often, right? And this is the first time meeting in 2020. Because it's also not like these two players are, afraid of playing online events. They absolutely do play a lot of online events. They play a ton of games. They play all of these Open Cups, for example, and just very surprised to see them meeting for the first time this year, which means it's the first time since, October the 5th of 2019. So it really has been over half a year since they played each other in an official match. Now, I'm sure they play each other maybe in some customs every now and again for practice. I'm sure that they probably play each other in ladder quite frequently too, both playing in Korea, of course, and living out there. But yeah. Still kind of a little bit crazy to think that in official matches, it really has just been so long. As you do have the Reaper of SpeCial heading up to the top left-hand side. Is going to move into the natural, and a few Zerglings already taking a few shots of damage, so I think it's taking a few hits, and they will continue to take some real damage there. The drone's popping out and starting to mine. Not much to say about this opener. It really is just everything you expect to see in the TVZ. It's a beautiful Reaper grenade to get the Reaper out alive. That would have been a dead Reaper, and you can see he's almost like threatening. He's like, go on, place the Cryptium. I'm gonna dive in. My Reaper don't care. And obviously it's just placed a little soon after, just so the Queen will be there. The Lings are there to defend it. And the Reaper, I don't think, was realistically going to get it anyway, so Cryptium is able to come down to the positive about getting so much damage on this Reaper. It really does just stop it from, it stops it from stopping the Cryptium. As you do have the Reaper backing away. On Scarlett and SpeCial, just in different bedrooms in the same house. SpeCial actually lives with, I believe, Armani. I don't think SpeCial lives in the Foreigner house. In the, I can't remember what they call it nowadays. It's changed names so many times. The Root Unity house, is that the official name right now? I don't think SpeCial is actually in the Foreigner house. I believe he lives with Armani and maybe somebody else, but mostly just Armani, I think. So yeah, they do not live together. As I guess most people just assume all foreigners in Korea are living in the Foreigner house, but it's actually, SpeCial's one of those players who's been in Korea for a long time, so definitely has had time to kind of get a bit more established there, I think he was living in the Foreigner house last year, so you're not too far wrong. It was definitely the scenario recently, just not currently, as far as I'm aware. As the Raven is building from SpeCial in the main base, so that's like an interesting opener. Very rare you see a Raven opener in TVZ. It does mean you can obviously clean up a lot of the creep spread without needing to scan. For that, you would like to keep these Hellions alive, and they have taken a bit of a beating to clean so far. And Scarlett does push a creep out to the left, to the bottom, to the right, pretty much in, I guess you could say, in all directions. So she's going to make sure that creep spread is on the map. Really wants to establish a good amount of control. This is a double Raven opener in this matchup. Okay, this is something I really haven't seen in TVZ. We've seen a bit of this in other matchups lately, Raven openers and going into these auto turret harassing moves, as this is going to be Hellions actually going to come through, and they're going to get the Lings. This is 8 Hellions as well, so it's a lot of Hellions. Something really sizable to be scared of. 4 drones already down. The Hellions going to find a bunch more than that. This is 8, 9 workers. 10 workers, okay, but it is, okay, so hear me out. It's 10 workers, which is great, but it's also 8 Hellions. 8 Hellions is more investment than you usually make. I guess it's 8 Hellions and also a ton of lings and so much lost mining time at this stage. Yeah, okay, it's definitely good for special, don't get me wrong. I'm never trying to say it's not good. I'm just trying to reason out maybe why it's maybe not super terrible for Scarlett, but I think it is pretty bad. Loses an extra drone here. She goes back in, and then there's the other auto turret over here. So now she loses 5 extra workers, basically just from the auto turrets. And those Ravens are doing well at the moment. If you look at resources lost, you can see the difference piling up there. And that's really the issue, right? I think the 27 Zerglings, 15 drones as well. Obviously a big investment, but also you've got to remember too, these Ravens are an investment. They don't come for free, so that's 400 gas invested very early in the game. I kind of feel like if Special does this kind of damage on a regular build, his push is then very powerful and probably just wins out. In this case, he's not quite ready to push yet. He doesn't have the medevac set to go. It's still good for Special. Again, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to tell you guys that Scarlett's in a magically great position, but you've got to remember this was a bit of an off build, and again, more invested than usual, perhaps. What would usually maybe be a Liberator was now 2 Ravens, right? And yes, okay, those Ravens got 5 workers, sure, and they're still around, they can still do more. But it's still that money investment, which then slows down the rest of your build. So something just to keep in mind as the Slayer is up and Nydus on the way. These auto turrets do so well against Queens. The Queens actually are really bad at killing them off. So just sending the Queens across to deal with them is actually not so great. And then losing a Queen there, had a transfusion too, so Scarlett just not paying attention. She still has fantastic creep spread around the map though, so while this pressure has been going on, she's been continuing to push her creep out. And that's the one thing that might really come to save her here. Really will get to see where Special is coming from way in advance. Can she buy some time? If she might be able to just buy the creep, obviously if it forces Special to slow down, siege up from further away. In fact, not even bringing the siege tanks initially, just going to go forward and clean up some creep spread. Oh my goodness though, the auto turret again for 3 more drones. So another few drones going down. And again, it's more hits to the economy that Scarlett just really can't afford. Look at his income graph all game long. Slight advantages for Special with big spikes in his favor when he's forcing big drone pulls. When he's forcing Scarlett to back away from a significant portion of mining. And that just makes it so tough for Scarlett. You know, these 1-1 upgrades are a really good indicator of where Scarlett's at in the game. Usually you get 1-1 if you go lair early for the Nydus, etc. Which aren't doing anything. Usually you get 1-1. And the 1-1 of the Terran's about halfway done. 1-1 started when 1-1 was finished for the Terran player, so there's a good indicator of just how far behind Scarlett really is off this damage as she's going to try and muster up a defense. Ling Bane will run through. She has to cancel the base already, though. The meters aren't even close. The problem with the Nydus was that they just already got deflected. See a few of the Banes able to start connecting in now and actually get some decent connections toward the end, but there was Marines on the left side too. With the 1-1 upgrade difference, if there isn't Baneling connections, these Zerglings are going to melt. They will do absolutely nothing here, and Scarlett very much so knows it. Special will take game 1 of this best of 3. Good harassment early. I was trying to find some love and some hype for Scarlett in this, but there really just wasn't any to be had at the end of the day. Special had a follow-up to kill, and that's what he does to take game number 1. Here we go into game number 2 of this best of 3. In the bottom left-hand side, our red Terran player taking that 1-0 advantage is Special. SCV is out onto the map early in the game. As in the bottom right, our blue Zerg player from Brave Star Gaming, this is Scarlett. So Special is going to proxy racks for game number 2. So 2 racks already starting up the hatchery on the natural from Scarlett. She is going to fly by this though, and she is going to see it in a moment. So she gets a heads up. Does she pull drones to help fight this? Yes, immediately pulls 3 drones. For a moment she selected 5, then she says, okay, just the 3. You want to try and delay probably more than anything here. This second rack's coming up, and you can also with 3 drones fight the first Marine that pops out. Those drones coming across this left-hand side, just looking for some damage. So SCV is taking a couple hits Feels like the drones aren't target firing super well just yet. Now getting onto this SCV though, this is really the important one because this is the one that's really going to get this second Rax built up. Oh, this was really good. This Rax may not finish. See when the SCV gets to come back. Obviously, at some point, the Marine will protect this. Marine pops on the left-hand side. One drone already taking some heavy hits. In fact, one drone goes down. There's no second Marine build in here from SpeCial, though. He's going to wait for the gas to build a Reaper. So he's just going to change up his plan a little bit. Looks like there'll be a cancel in this barracks. The SCV already going home. This barracks 2 should cancel him. Scarlett really does just shut this attack down already. So basically, what SpeCial does, because it's 2 racks, you have a gas pretty quickly anyway, because you do transition with this build pretty quick. So he's just going to cancel the second racks. He waits for the gas to build a Reaper. And because he's not building Marines, he builds a Reaper. It means that he just doesn't build the factory as quickly as he would usually. So usually you keep building Marines and the gas goes into a faster factory at home. This time he builds the Reaper, and what that does is actually allows him to safely expand on the low ground. So there is a benefit to it, and then he gets the factory started to fully wall. And go from there. And this actually starts to look like a fairly normal game. Obviously, there's going to be a discrepancy in terms of supplies, but you've also got to remember, you know, both SpeCial and Scarlett pulled workers off minerals to do this. SpeCial took 2 workers off earlier. Scarlett pulled 3 off. And from there, the commitment's been very low on either side. So I would generally say this is still a slight advantage for Scarlett, but it's not by a huge margin, right? She is going to start up a very quick lair, though, and that's the sort of speedy lair that says, hey, let's go and kill you. And especially as SpeCial goes for a 3rd CC, he's now going to be in a position where he's going to be very vulnerable to a lot of attacks. Because he is, you know, prioritizing 3rd CC, you know, starport right away. He's really just missing units for a long time here. And yeah, this is such an early lair. In this sort of scenario, it would be kind of weird to see a Spire. So we are going to be seeing the Roach Warren as the choice, and it seems like we'll get a Nydus network for game number 2. Which again, SpeCial, the biggest thing that he's behind in is just going to be his build order timing and kind of the time at which he's building things. Because even, for example, the racks being on the map means that you can't build a tech lab with the racks. So if you want to go Banshee, the starport has to build its own tech lab. He's going to go for a Viking, which means he will be able to shut down this Overlord. But will it be soon enough? I don't think so. This Viking finishes in 20 seconds. The Nydus finishes in 20-ish seconds. Then the Viking has to find the Overlord and kill it. There's absolutely going to be a Nydus down in this corner. Question is, does SpeCial know about it? Ooh, I actually don't think he saw this Overlord over here with that Rax, which kind of felt like he was looking for it. Now he's going to build a Fusion Core as well. The Fusion Core is great if you can get a BC up, but in what world do you have the time to get the Battlecruiser up and online in this map? You just absolutely don't. Yeah, right now SpeCial just doesn't actually know. It doesn't matter if he knows anyway. He doesn't have the units to actually kill the Nydus. Even if you land a Viking 2 Hellions and Marine, does that kill the Nydus? If you see it right away with an SCV pull, maybe just. But it's very, very, very close. And you have to pull everything in immediately, so that's going to be Scarlett winning out in game number 2. The Nydus counterattack is the one thing that SpeCial really struggles with, especially after going 3CC. And Scarlett will tie us up after the defense of the attempted 2 racks. Let's get this started. In the top right-hand side, our Red Terran player is SpeCial. Now tied up 1-1 in this best of 3 after taking a pretty convincing first map, but his 2 racks not working out in game number 2, and really just didn't have the units available to defend at the timing of the Nydus. As in the bottom left-hand side, our blue Zerg player, this is Scarlett. Just want to make a quick mention. This one might go up on YouTube, so hello to everyone on YouTube if you're watching this, and if you are enjoying, don't forget to hit that like button. And of course, if you're really enjoying, do consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. Help us out a whole bunch. Really appreciate all the support as always, guys. Thanks for continuing to help the channel grow. That's for the moment. Overlord just out the right side. Another Overlord going to go up the left. We do just have the hatch gas and spawning pool building, so we're really going to see a very standard opening on Eternal Empire. No surprises there. This is a map where I don't really expect too much craziness from either player. I expect SpeCial to maybe even play a bit more standard than the first game. Those Ravens were a little bit unorthodox. He'd absolutely go for it again because it sets him up into a standard position. Would be interesting if he does play for that twice. Let's see if Scarlett can hold on this time around, though, because whatever Special does throw at Scarlett, she just needs to defend it better. And if she can survive to a better position in the mid game, she can absolutely become a monster in the macro mode, right? You know, she gets set up to just spam up Ling, Bane, and Muta or Hydra, depending on what she wants to play. Probably Muta's on Eternal Empire. She becomes a very, very scary player, and she's very good at surviving. She's very good at playing this map. I saw some games of her against TY recently where she fell behind early and yet was able to drag this map out for like 10 more minutes than she should have done. And it just really goes to show that if she doesn't die to that first push like she did in the first game, I feel like Scarlett always has that kind of fighting spirit in her. So let's see what happens with this third game. Really, a lot of it does come down to how SpeCial opens and what he can really do with that damage that he'll try and get done, because he does go second gas. This is already going to be a faster starport, no super fast 3cc. And from the start, that means that we're already like, well, what pressure, what aggression do you want to go for here? The factory's going to make its way to the reactor for the Hellions. Then does the starport go in towards a tech lab? Do we have a fusion core? You obviously tried to go fusion core as a follow-up in the last game. Does he maybe go battlecruiser here? He doesn't even have to necessarily play bio, right? He could play mech. He actually played mech, was it, I think, on this map yesterday against Sue in the TSL. So he could just play straight up mech. He's already building a marine. I always feel like when these marines are building, it's somewhat indicative of maybe even a Hellbat attack early in the game. Now, that's something that I don't have in my mind on the list of things that usually happen on this. Let's see if he builds one more marine or not. Okay, here's a tech lab, so no Hellbats. Oh, he's going to go 2 Widow Mines. Yeah, this is very reminiscent of Sue versus SpeCial yesterday. And I think eventually SpeCial just played this out into a mech style. And he played a very weird kind of mech because he didn't play with the Cyclones or anything. I think he just played with the... he didn't play with the Cyclones or anything. He played just pure, like, Hellion tank. And it was a little bit... It was a weird game because it started off weird as well, though. This isn't going to be mech. It is just going to be bio. The tech lab finishing on the racks is going to start stim. Maybe it wasn't the mech game that he went for the Widow Mine drop in then. I'm trying to think what happened in the mech game, because it was a very weird opener, and me and ZG were like, we don't actually know what happens now. Because it was just so different from the usual kind of setup. Plus, she was playing like a fast Spire. I feel like it was like a fast 2... I think it was like 2 racks Reaper, right? Yeah, that was it. He opened like 2 racks Reaper in base, but actually only built like 2 or 3 Reapers. And it was just a very weird build across the entire setup. And then he switched into mech after. It was just madness. Or was that even the mech? I actually have no idea. I'm completely lost. I can't remember. There's so much StarCraft yesterday. You know what, guys? Ignore me. Let's just see what happens. The Hellions get deflected. The Widow Mine drop actually does come in, but gets shut down and pushed away. Only a couple of Lings going down. Sorry, missed that in my attempting to remember what the hell was happening yesterday in SpeCial versus Sue. As we do see the couple of extra engineering bays, and obviously with this bioplay setting up, SpeCial will be well into that very shortly. Already has the reactors for these extra racks. The starport should give way and build its own second reactor now, as the Widow Mine drop will not get back in just yet. The Reaper and the Hellions at the front, able to find a creep tumor already. Now just seeing this medevac back around this left-hand side. 1-1 upgrades already building on the engineering base. And that's going to be a lead from SpeCial, because Scarlett is again playing that faster lair into the Spider or so. Yeah, the 2 racks opener was on Nightshade. I know, I said I was going to shut up and not talk about it anymore. 2 racks opener was on Nightshade. So what was it actually that happened on Eternal? It was the mech game. Right? I don't even... Honestly, I actually don't know anymore. I'm just going to shut up. As these queens are going to set up a set of crypt tumors at the front and continue to push out. And we've seen another hatchery coming to the 4th base as well, as the Hellions trying to pull back a little bit. The queen's coming through the top side, and a couple of Widow Mines already set up at the front as well, with the Liberator from SpeCial about to finish up. So even a bit more harassment still coming into play. I really thought this starport was going to give up its reactor, but he actually didn't need it, because I forgot that this barracks was already building on a reactor. So you can keep the reactor on the starport there. As the first push from SpeCial shows up, 4th base of Scarlett has to cancel. Scan from SpeCial just to get rid of all this creep that Scarlett's been trying to set up in the game. She has so much creep on the far bottom side and the far left-hand side. She needs to be able to survive right now, though, and she doesn't have Bane speed, which makes it a little bit more difficult. Obviously, these really is just the first two medevacs of units here. The Widowmine shot is huge, as Scarlett doesn't really react to it at all, doesn't split away. So the Widowmine gets a big connection as our Banelings continue through. Oh, this is big, though. The Mutas will show up and will clean out the medevac full of Marines. So what looked a little bit dicey for Scarlett turns out to be just about okay in the end. The Liberator gets a few drones in the back of the natural, but that will be all for the moment, as it now moves back away up the left-hand side. Again, Scarlett's upgrades are so late here, and just kind of shows how much she had to scramble to her defense there, because these upgrades should be at worst starting like halfway along 1-1 of the Terran. Starting after 1-1 is finished from the Terran player, and you know, 2-2 only just started from the Terran because SpeCial himself was a little bit busy. That is such a problem. It's such a big delay, and now you've got to fight this entire game with an upgrade deficit. This isn't just 1-1, you know, then it's 2-2 that you're behind on. Then it's, I mean, you're naturally behind on 3-3 anyway, but even if you went for a faster Infestation Pit and Hive, you're then also behind on 3-3, right? So every single point in this game, you're just going to be behind on upgrades, basically. And that's a real shame. It makes it much harder for Scarlett to fight, as she'll set up some Lings on the counterattack. There's not a full wall on that third base yet, and there's not a lot of reinforcements. Counterattack has a lot of potential here, as the Mutas are intercepting reinforcements quite nicely. Gets a tank, will find some Marines. There goes the Lings into the mineral line, and SCVs pull away very quickly. But again, there's not really the units here to defend this. Scarlett has the fourth base on the south side now, so she's not in an immediate rush to defend this position either. Wow, okay, the SCV's pulled back in, so 10 workers go down. Now the Banelings are looking to strike, as the Mutas will go for the tanks, losing a few more Banelings as the tank gets extra shots off, but the Marines ran back through those Banelings, and now the medevacs have to boost away, and that will be that. Scarlett even saving this hatchery, so we'll keep the 5 base alive. Widowmine burrows up, Drilling Claw's done soon, so the Widowmine repositioning will be done a little bit more easily. As at this point, I think Scarlett needs to go into the 2-2 upgrades of her own, though, right? 1-1 has finished. The longer she forgets 2-2 for, the longer she's going to be behind SpeCial on those upgrades. And the more time SpeCial has to make fights so much better off for him. And there's a couple of SCVs going down to, I think just a couple of Lings showed up, actually. Try and do a little bit more on the top side. There definitely wasn't any kind of sizable amount of units. It's going to be a bit more now as Scarlett runs in once again. And SpeCial is still struggling to get a proper setup here. Might not even be bad for Scarlett to just go and surround and cancel his fourth base, right? Cancel that fourth base, and if you get that cancel, slow SpeCial down from going into the next step of this, as this set of Marines will pull away from the creep spread, and Scarlett will struggle to really dive on that properly. So she resets. I'm so worried about her lack of upgrades. She's an entire set of upgrades behind, and it kind of worked out before now. Now she starts 2-2. She's going to leave those two Widowmine, that Widowmine shot ahead with the 2 Lings. That was nicely done. Unfortunately, it didn't quite land onto the Marines for friendly fire. She comes through here. The tank's not really set up well enough, and the medevacs in trouble too, as the Mutas will make a dive to get rid of pretty much all of them. Can these Mutas keep fighting? Well, yeah, absolutely, yes they can. SpeCial's going to be the one that just GG's out of this. And Scarlett's going to win this series out 2-1. I was not expecting Scarlett just to win the game right there. I was expecting Scarlett to push SpeCial back, and, you know, SpeCial has to pull back and maybe in a bit of trouble, but can maybe hold on, especially with the upgrades. But yes, SpeCial just decides that's it. That's enough from Scarlett. She's going to overrun, and she's going to take this series after being down by 1. She brings it back to win out